Hello. So for my video project, my Spanish 11 video project, I decided to do research on some of the natural parks in Spain and Latin America. So I first started with the Doña National Park. The Doña National Park was established as a nature reserve in 1969. It's named after Doña Ana de Silva y Mendoza, wife of the 7th Duke of Medina Sidonia. The natural reserve includes both the Doña National Park and the natural park created in 1989 and expanded in 1997. So I kind of wanted to go into some of the wildlife that they have in the nature reserve. One of them is the red deer. It's one of the largest deer species in the world. You can find them in Europe, Asia, and Africa, and they're all over the world as well. And then I also did the Liberian lynx. And so the lynx was a wildcat species in the Iberian Peninsula in southwestern Europe, and there are only about 326 individuals left. So the species is becoming endangered, just as well as the Spanish imperial eagle. That's also they're also endangered, but they can basically only be found in this nature reserve in places around this area. And then I also looked at more of the wildlife. So there are 20 species of freshwater fish, and there are 10 species of amphibians, 13 reptiles, 37 mammals, and 360 non-marine birds, of which 127 have been nesting in the parks. So there are just many animals throughout the park that people go and visit. They can go see. There's the purple heron, which I have a picture of, and the marsh horse. So there are just many species of animals all around. There's also many flowers around, and trees, other things like that to go see, and it's just like a very beautiful landscape that you can go to. There are about 875 notable species indigenous of plants all around the parks. Some of them include moram grass, sage leaf rock rose, and there are just many other plants around. The climate, so Doña Park has dry summers and relatively wet winters. It is typically Mediterranean climate, so not really, it doesn't really get too cold there. It's mostly just kind of warm and then kind of wet in the wintertime. So there's also mobile dunes that form by the prevailing southwest winds, which is almost non-existent anywhere else other than that peninsula. So that's just kind of something that's interesting to that area. So obviously this is natural land, so they try to conserve it. There's been many efforts by many groups to make sure that this land is conserved, and so the area was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1994. And yeah. So the next nature reserve I decided to do was Easter Island. Easter Island is basically a Chilean island now in southeastern Pacific Ocean. Easter Island is one of the remote inhabitants islands in the world, so not that many people live on it anymore. It is most famous. Most people have probably seen the large heads, but there are about 1,000 extant monument statues. They're called moai, or moai. I think moai is how it's pronounced. So kind of just the background on it. It is believed that Polynesians arrived on Easter Island sometime near 1200 AD. They created a thriving industrial culture. However, land clearing led to deforestation. And then later the Europeans arrived, and they basically, with all their disease and they kind of took over the population. All the population kind of died, and there's really not many of those people left. And at one point, they were kind of fighting for their rights, but they later did get it. But there are only about, I think less than 3,000 of them left total from that civilization. So, so in 1888, Chile annexed the East Island. So Chile is basically, the owner of it. So the natives, what they were called were the Rapa Nui. They were first granted citizenship in 1996. And in 1995, UNESCO named Easter Island a World Heritage Site. And so it's very protected by the nature reserve. They call it the Rapa Nui National Park. So that's what the national park's actually called. So just kind of going on the climate and what it's kind of like there. It's very tropical. It's like an island climate, so really nice, really warm. No real snow. One thing that is interesting though, so with the deforestation, a lot of their trees have been cut down. So that's one of the reasons they really weren't able to grow as a society, and one of the reasons they fell. One of their like main trees is like the palm, or like a palm tree, I guess. And so basically, that is in decline as well. There's also a lot of soil erosion and other things that have like really, decimated the area and really, decimated the real natural things there because of, they were basically just living on this island forever and destroyed all the plants and stuff. So there's just not as much stuff there as there once were. And it's also a volcano island. So there are 3 extinct volcanoes on there that like people go and they can kind of see what's going on. So it's a big tourist destination. So they not only have volcanoes, but they have those Easter Island heads. So it's a place where people can kind of go and see the ancient history, and it's kind of a weird area. There's nowhere really like it else on the earth. So it's really cool. And then the other one was the Iguazu. That is a waterfall. It's also a river as well. So it's like a river that flows into basically the biggest waterfall in the world. It borders Argentina and Brazil. The waterfall is mostly in Argentina, but the river is mostly in Brazil. So the area that's surrounding it is inhabited by about 10,000 years ago by the hunters and gatherers of the El Duranés culture. Later, basically, Spain came in and kind of took over the area, displaced the people that lived there, and then Brazil and kind of Argentina started once they become countries, they started establishing it as a place. And then the Iguazu National Park was established in Argentina about 1934, and it was also established in 1939 in Brazil. So they're basically the same park, but one is in one country and one is the other. So just kind of the characteristics of the falls. It's kind of weird because it's built around islands. So the staircase character of the falls consists of about 2-step waterfall formed by 3 layers of basaltic. And so the Iguazu experienced a humid subtropical climate with abundant precipitation and high temperatures year-round. So it's another, kind of tropical experience. It doesn't really get cold. It's warm pretty much all year round. So the weather's really nice, and it's another big tourist destination. People don't just come from South America, but they come all over the world. It's kind of like Niagara Falls. Some people care. I don't know if people know about the Victoria Falls, but those are in South Africa. Those are also one of the largest falls in the world. Those are like more of a blanket, so it goes all the way around, but the Iguazu are kind of weird because it is built around islands, so there are like parts where it's not really like falls and there's parts where it is. But it is still probably the biggest falls in the world. But they kind of compare the two, being, such large falls that, even bigger than Niagara Falls, which is kind of crazy to think of, so, yeah. And that is my presentation. So, thank you for listening.